On today's episode, we're going to talk about the highs and lows of running a business. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Today might be the ugly.
Welcome to the Chronicles of Caffeine and Ambition, hosted by the Cinder Sisters. I'm Stacey.
And I'm Megan. And what we are here to do on our podcast is tell you about business, life, families, essentially everything that we do, we want to share with you because we have a lot of self-confidence. We've learned a lot of self-confidence over the years.
We sure have.
And we want to share that with you. We want to show you how.
Let's do this.
So I'm starting today's podcast off with a quote. Hey, look, Ma, I made it.
That's awesome.
It's like when a song gets in your head. But it was apropos because Stacey was playing that song just a second ago when we were looking through social, and today's topic is the ups and downs, the highs and lows of running your own business and then running multiple businesses. So
there's so many of both.
So many highs, so many lows.
Yeah. I mean, thank goodness for both, because really without a low, you wouldn't feel the high so well.
That's fair. So my first question is, what's the biggest memory? Like if I said to you, what was the lowest low? What is the first thing that comes to your mind?
Realizing that we didn't know what the heck we were doing about inventory and purchasing and anything like that, because we messed up real bad, and I had to check my ego at the door for that one. That hurt a lot. Yeah.
That's an ow. That's a knife in the chest. Ow, look at me. I made a mistake. I failed.
And not a little mistake, big mistake.
Yeah.
And that cost us.
It cost a lot. It cost years, honestly.
It did.
Yeah. It was one of the biggest. And so in growing, if you go back and watch our first for the background of our story and how we started the businesses, but so we came out of our first business being a service industry, our second business being inventory based. So inventory management was not something we had had no idea how to do any of it.
No, not at all.
But we have enough ego and enough self-confidence to know that we will make it through anything and we'll figure it out. But we figure it out as we go. So
Trial and error.
And we did not look into it. That is not one of the things that I read. And again, I will say it over and over, inventory is the bane of my existence. So as the researcher, as the background planner, if either of us is a planner, it would be me, which is sad.
It's not me, 100%. No, we know what we do. We walk into the bridal markets, go, oh my goodness, look at all the pretty dresses. I think we need almost all of them.
We need all of these. Obviously, there's a bride for every single one of these dresses, and we have to have everyone in our shop. No, it was bad.
Yeah, it was bad.
So, I mean, we didn't look into any of it, didn't prepare at all. And I don't even think that we realized what the difference was between a service-based industry and an inventory-based industry.
I didn't.
No. This is how unprepared we were.
Yeah.
But that's why we're here. That's why we're here talking to you. Because as much as we didn't plan, and maybe in hindsight, I probably would suggest that you have some kind of prep. I would always suggest that you know what you're walking into now in hindsight. Can I say that we do it all the time? Ourselves? No.
No. Don't be silly.
That's why we have a team now. That's why we have a team now, because we know our strengths and our weaknesses, and we know that planning is not a strength.
It's so true, because it is the people that you build around you to run your business for you are so important, and you get smarter people than you in the things that you can't do. You use your strength and you do what you do best and what you love to do, and then that makes it a heck of a lot easier to run the business, because then the people who are doing those other things love to do it.
Yeah.
And they're really good at it.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll tell you mine too, because I asked. So my core memory personally of like one of the worst of times was coming off of that poor management of inventory. We were in such a bad spot financially in the business and everything. Too much staff, too much inventory, everything. We'd done pretty terribly wrong. Mm-hmm. I had to tell one of our suppliers that I just didn't have the money to pay them. And up until that point, it's not like you can think back and be like, well, they obviously knew that it wasn't going well.
Yeah.
But I had never said it out loud. So I guess our biggest core memories of the worst of times are the same. It's checking your ego. They both are, because I had to put my pride aside and actually pick up the phone, which I also don't do, pick up the phone and call the supplier and tell our accounts lady that I did not have the money to pay her and probably wouldn't for the next little while. And it hurt real bad. But what I got out of it was she's a phenomenal woman. I love that woman.
And what did she say to you?
What I got out of it from her was, oh, don't worry, everybody's in the same spot right now. And it was full out, like, it was a face slap.
But almost a weight lifted too.
Oh, it was, but I'm saying, like, it's not a slap in the face. It was a wake-up call to me that we're only focused on ourselves. We're only paying attention to what we're doing. The industry was bad at the time. Mm-hmm. So we had made a lot of mistakes, and we were not doing really well in running the business at that time. Yeah. But it wasn't just us either. It never is.
Yeah, that was a really bad year because the industry fluxes like any industry does, and it was...
Sometimes weddings are really popular, sometimes they're not. Correct. And it goes with recessions, and it goes with a lot of the DIY year where everybody made everything for their wedding. That was a terrible year for us. The lows and the highs, honestly, but the lows came often with personal lows too. Like the first of episode 1, if you haven't seen it, we talk a little bit about the fact when we were in our first business, Stacey and I didn't speak for a year, 2 years.
Something like that. I mean, I blocked that one out of my memory there.
Yeah. I mean, I know it was there. I remember some of the stupid things we said to each other or said through our mom because we were childish, but...
And wouldn't speak, yes. That was a definite low. And then, I mean, of course, that hinders the business as well when you don't speak to your business partner.
100%. Yeah. We made it through it, thankfully, because of the people that we have around us, but it was also in relation to some pretty low times that we were having personally because our personal lives affect the business because we are the business. Correct. As much as we have our community and we have our team, and we need everybody around us to create what we do, to continue doing what we do. But if we're not on top, if we're not on our game, then we're dragging everything down.
Absolutely.
So those were some pretty low years for both of us.
Those were terrible years in our personal life for both of us.
That's a whole other story.
That's a whole long episode on those ones, which you'll have to wait for.
Let's switch from Debbie Downer. Let's go to some methamphetamines right now.
I like methamphetamine way better.
Okay, so what was your biggest high then? We've talked about your biggest low. What was your biggest high over the years? And we're talking like right back to the beginning. We're going on almost 20 years of owning businesses, and we just started our third, talking about a fourth. What over all of those years, what's like the biggest thing in your brain that it's like, that's the day, that's the fireworks day?
Opening the second shop, when we opened our second boutique, and I don't even know if it was the day that it wasn't the day that we opened. It was a random day. We were going down to visit, do some training, see the girls who are running the shop there for us, and it was just pulling up beside it and the realization of, we have a second shop.
Yeah.
We look at us.
And it's not even like, sorry, I'm throwing out terms like first business, second business, third. We own 33 businesses, but our bridal shop, the second business, has 2 locations.
Correct. So this is heading to the second location.
This is headed to the second location. So I mean, we downplay ourselves pretty frequently. We don't realize what we have or how much we do.
No, I don't think we do.
And that day broke through that.
That 100% it did, and there was no reason for it. It's not as if we were going for something exciting, anything. It was just a realization of driving around the corner, looking at it, and being like,
oh my God, that's ours.
Liminally, it's very hard for me not to swear right now. You can put in what you think I would actually say, but I can't say it on the podcast. Anyways, that's what I felt like that day. It was like this, like, oh my, look at us. Look, like, I'm so proud of myself, so proud of us, so proud of everything that everybody has gotten us here to this point. Because when we were starting out this journey, I remember saying to Meg, we're going to be so big. Like, so big. Everyone will know what Cinders is. Everyone will know us. This is, like, I planned for, like, grander. And Meg used to roll her eyes at me and be like, yeah, okay, Stace.
Sure. Nice. You keep going with your fancy plans there in your head. Thankfully, we now have somebody who is the rock to the double balloons that I get to be, because I get to float around and do the crazy ideas too, and dream and plan and crazy.
Yes.
And there's somebody else holding us down. So
exactly.
Unfortunately for him, he has 2 helium balloons to hold on to. He chose it.
He did. We'll get him on the podcast one day and he can tell his side of the story.
We're going to ask him his highs and lows because those will be funny to hear. His high will be joining us, his low will be joining us, and being told that he's not allowed to touch anything.
That's exactly. Oh my gosh, that's a full episode on its own.
Poor Chris.
Oh.
I have a high that is an extremely it's silly unless you're a bookwork person, which I'm not as much anymore, but I am much more so a bookwork person than Stacey. But one of my biggest highs is, and I was pregnant at the time, because when we bought the second business, when we bought the bridal shop, Stacey had just had a baby.
Yes.
And I was currently pregnant.
Yes.
With my first child. So the pregnancy, hormones, craziness, new mom brain, like we were maybe not with it quite then.
It was quite the time to be buying a business.
Quite the time to be buying a business. And guess what I did and enjoyed it? I wrote a business plan. I wrote a proper 20-page business plan, and as ridiculous as this sounds, it sits with me as one of those major things that I've done in my life. And I wrote this massive plan, and I've never written one before, but I like writing and I like words. So I looked up what it was, looked up what you're supposed to have, and it was in order to get our loan. So me sitting there writing this business plan, and I enjoyed it. And then I lost it. The computer didn't save it. I lost the file 3 times.
Hi. To a complete crash.
And it only makes sense because because I was pregnant at the time and I was probably doing something stupid. But how do you write a 20-page business plan and lose it 3 times?
Because you're pregnant. 100%.
But it is actually one of my highs to think back and know that I wrote that and then was able to write it again. And then I think I fully lost it 3 times. So I did have to write it over again 3 times. But thankfully by the 3rd time I had pieces of it left, or I knew what I had written. But I was very proud of myself.
So you should be. This is why we work well together. Because that is not my jam whatsoever. True. I'll get you some pretty pictures. I'll make things all nice, and I'll be creative, and give me that stuff all day, every day. Paint. Give me my paint clothes. I will renovate this building.
Your 200-year-old paint clothes.
I will renovate stuff for sure. But no, ask me to write a business plan, I will cry for days.
Which is hilarious because I don't enjoy the crafty things. How many times every year we try and do something for Christmas with the team, and we always choose craft things. And we're sitting there on that day and doing this craft, and I'm sitting there going, I hate my life. I hate crafts. Why did I agree to this? Whose idea was this? I don't want to do this craft. Thankfully, it's not always about me, so everyone else enjoys the craft.
Some of them enjoy the craft.
Some of them come because we asked them to come.
The alts team enjoys the crafts.
True. Not all the bridal team does.
Other years, we send them down zip lines and do things like that, and I don't think the alterations team enjoys that as much.
That is, and that's a great comment though, because that would be one of the huge highs, the things that we have done, the crazy things. You think about running a business and taking care of your team, because we are really big on that. We're really big on taking care of the team and making sure that everybody's happy and doing things, because we like to do things ourselves, so why not do things as a company too? But instead of pizza parties, or I don't know, what are the things like barbecues? What do normal companies do? I don't know.
I don't know. We take our zip lining.
Even what was she, not 90, what was she, 70?
Oh gosh, yeah, definitely. She couldn't make it quite up the hill, so she got a 4-wheeler ride, but she made it down those zip lines. I was impressed. I was impressed.
And the great thing about that day, this day is definitely one of the highs of the past 20 years. But the best thing, she was so determined. And couldn't make it up the hill, so they gave her a lift, but she was not quitting. She was going down those zip lines.
She wasn't waiting for us at the bottom. And not only was it just zip lines, it was pouring rain.
It was pouring rain.
Rain. We all got soaked.
Yep. And there were multiple people, which we found out later, because we were early on in the second business, so they didn't know us well. Oh, yeah. Whereas if they'd known us well, they might have said, that's really not my thing. Because we get that now. We can't do ziplining again with the whole team because half of them refuse to go. But they wouldn't say it early on because they didn't know us yet. So everyone came and everyone did it. But the greatest thing about it is that even though they afterwards told us that they didn't want to do it, they were afraid. One of them specifically, and she was one of the older ladies on the team, but she specifically said to me, I absolutely did not want to do that. Terrified of it, but I am so proud of myself right now that I did it. And she got to tell her grandkids that she went ziplining. Yes. She was so happy about it afterwards. So I mean, we do like to push boundaries a little bit, and we do like to drag people along with us. Super grateful that they did it, and super proud of them that we all did it too.
Totally.
I do remember, sorry, I'm back to Debbie Downer. So one of the worst times, and because it was a really bad time for the two of us in one instance, that it didn't last. Thankfully, I think I was also pregnant again. So this is kind of the problem. We've had a lot of kids between the two of us, and some of these things are skewed by hormones. But I remember the day that you called me because it was the Saturdays that we were trying to alternate and you were working and I wasn't. And you called me to tell me that you thought we needed to shut down for COVID because it wasn't yet where the government had
It wasn't
mandated
yet.
Yeah.
Yes. And I did. I remember calling you and you were mad.
I was real mad at you.
Yes, you were.
So that was a definite down.
That was a down. And I don't think it was long after that where they did shut everything.
It was that week.
It was that week.
Like, it was a few days later. So, I mean, it was absolutely necessary. It was just holding out that hope that it wasn't going to be a big deal, not just for our business, but in life. Like, a full, complete denial that it was going to be that bad. And
we all were for a long time, though, because they first said it was going to be a week. And so we were like, well, okay, we're going to be okay. And then they were like, no, 2 weeks. We're like, that's okay. That's okay. We're all like, we're getting a vacation. It's okay. No big deal. We're all going to be fine after this.
3 months in and we're all crying at home. But I mean, when you called, like, to me, there's multiple lows about it because I was so mad at you, which was unrealistic. It wasn't your choice, and then it was mandated the next week. So, I mean, that was just us, and I apologize. That was just me overreacting.
You guys
at
heard
you,
it. She apologized to me.
Blaming you for a decision that needed to be made. And honestly, kudos for making that decision. Good for you. I know it was horrible. I cried the rest of the day, and I'm sure you did too.
Because the unknown.
The unknown of it.
Everything. And your team is your family. Like, this team's our family.
Yeah.
And so we've had to explain to the team that
we're closing our doors.
Yeah. And I don't know when we're going to open them. They say a week. Okay, so we should be okay for a week. But a lot of our team is, like, they come in here to vent, for an escape. And, like, you know how right now everyone's talking about third place. Most people don't have third places. We are also somewhat a third place.
Mm-hmm. We definitely are. We are for us, which is because wait, your first place is like your first and second places are your home and work, right?
Home and work.
Your third place is supposed to be somewhere where you can relax and enjoy.
Yeah.
Which is not supposed to be your work because they've specifically set out 1 and 2 is your home and your work. But you're right. We use
because the team's been around for so long. And I'm talking like 10 plus years for some of these girls. Mm-hmm. So it's
multiple people on our team outdate us.
Correct.
Like, we took over that business and we took them on, and they're incredible people and they stay with us.
So trying to explain to your grandmother, your mother, that you have to go home and you can't come in, and I don't know when you get to come back, and I hope that we're here when you come back. Not that you're saying that part out loud, but the unknown for everyone was awful. So that part was a complete low. And yeah, cried, like shutting the door. Oh my God, that emotion, I can feel my eyes welling up right now. That emotion of shutting the door for the last time that day and not knowing when we'd be back is heartbreaking.
For ourselves and just, you're right, the uncertainty and not being able to tell them anything. We don't know because we didn't know. And
then not only for the team, then the brides.
Yeah.
Because then we had to deal with the unbelievable amount of phone calls of brides saying, is my dress there? Is my dress going to be okay? Can it come in? Because of course shipments then started to get stopped, and like having to help brides navigate their way through COVID when we didn't know a lot of the time whether or not the dress was going to show up, whether or not the wedding can even go through. That was a low. But the high of all of it is they were damn good at pivoting.
Yeah, you're right. That was kind of the linchpin in our ability to pivot or do whatever we needed to make it through.
And we did. And not only us, but our team. Like, I will forever be grateful and beyond proud of what they accomplished during COVID. Because, of course, by the time you're sitting at home for the third week, I've got extreme anxiety, which I realized not long ago, and a problem with I need to accomplish things. I need to work. I need to be able to feel like I am getting things done. So sitting at home, I'm losing my mind. You can only clean your house so many times. And then it is spotlessly clean. And then you're like, well, what do I do next? We had previously, and not long before this, had started a 5-year plan of the business and what we want to do and all the things we needed to get done. And the building that we're in is like an old Victorian building. So it constantly needs updating or needs work. And we were still somewhat renovating from the previous owners. So let me tell you, when we said to our team, I need to get the house renovated, do you think you guys could work a skill saw and paintbrushes and sanders, and you want to learn how to do trim, but what you want to learn how to renovate a house? Pretty much our entire team said yes, and they all came in, and that 5-year plan got done in 5 months.
Yeah.
With a team of women. Like, I am so, even right now, I'm so freaking proud of what they did.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Some of them had never lifted a drill before.
No.
And this is us saying this in the sense that we have all our lives. Like, we grew up doing everything.
We grew up, it was 3 girls, and then our dad and our mom. We grew up in the middle of nowhere, homesteading essentially. So the only way you were getting the thing is if you made the thing.
Yeah. We made all the food. Mom canned everything. We had a garden. We had animals. We did
chopped wood so we could stay warm.
Yeah, because there was no furnace.
There was no furnace. Like when we got home from school, we had to start. But
Meg started the fire. I have a problem. It's fine. It's fine. It's
but
necessary.
So for us, it wasn't a big deal to do the things because we were like, and even if we don't know how to do it, we'll figure out how to do it.
We never thought about it though.
Not
like that was funny. Hey, can you use this drill to put this curtain rod in so that we can put a new curtain up there? And she was like, oh, okay. I just drill, and I'm like, have you used a drill before? No, you've not. Okay. Let's start a little earlier than that. I'll show you how to use the drill. It's just we just assumed.
100%. I just assumed everybody knows.
But it was incredible. Like the growth and the learning curve for everybody at that point was incredible. Yeah. And it got so much done in the building, and we're so much further ahead because of the hard work during that time.
Yeah.
But then you're right. The brides, like over all of this, obviously some of our team were phone calls and emails and constantly trying to de-stress.
And become psychologists, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there was so much worry, so much fear. Nobody knew what was going to happen, and we didn't have the answers.
No.
But
then all of a sudden, bang, I'm getting married in 2 weeks from now. What can you do for me? Because we're going to do that, but I need to have the dress fixed, or I need to pick it up, and we're not allowed to see anybody, so we had to do a side door pickup and like figure out what does that mean when I can't see a bride for her dress, like because weddings were still allowed to happen even though you could only have it in your house with 2 people, and it was like unbelievable.
It was
in
an
a way,
absolute mess.
It was a mess, but
thank
amazing. Goodness we were allowed to still have weddings. Because then the brides could still come, have their wedding. And then what a lot of them even did was had a second wedding after that as a reception.
Yeah.
And so we're able to have the wedding, do that,
It changed so many things in the wedding industry. And it changed how we look at things in the wedding industry as the wedding itself.
Yeah.
But also how we look at our business being inside that industry. How we serve the client.
Yeah.
We were already
so
becoming
true.
an experience before that because we already knew that it was necessary. But after that was really when we made all the changes to make sure that we're not just a place where you buy a white dress. That's
not even close.
Really where it came into effect after COVID, and we were able to reopen again. And we were like, you know what? Look, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna be? Who are we?
Yeah.
We don't sell the white dress anymore. We actually help the bride, her family. We empower you. We create self-confidence. It's so much more than just a piece of clothing.
Totally. And we're start to finish. I mean, even like we start with a phone call. Like you book an appointment, we start with a phone call to talk to you about what you're looking for, what you want, your aspirations, and then we walk through the entire process with you. And the dress stays in our building the entire time if you use all alterations. And so work through with the seamstress. And then we even go to a point of we'll come to the wedding now and go and get you dressed and make sure you get down the aisle and make sure everything's absolutely perfect. So it is start to finish.
Because I think the realization that came out of all of this flux over the years was how much stress there is, how much pressure we put on ourselves. And if our job can be to take away some of that stress, that's the goal.
Yeah. Agree.
Taking on one business, running one business. God, let's go back even further. Life has highs and lows. Life has ups and downs, and it always will. And your ability to get through them is what makes your life. Then starting a business, owning a business, being a business owner creates even more highs and lows. Because you live them through your life, but you live them through your business too, because it's an extension of you.
Definitely.
And then add another business.
And another.
And then another business.
But I think you learn to navigate them so much easier and realize it isn't as stressful as what you think it is. You look at it, and if you look at it from an outsider perspective, not as the person whose business it is, I think there's always a solution to whatever the problem is. And I think we've gotten better at doing that throughout all the things that we've gone through.
I totally agree. It's like a quote, and I'm going to butcher it, but I saw this thing the other day that was like 1 kid equals 1 kid, 2 kids equals 5 kids, 3 kids equals 2,596 kids. It's true. My house is absolute insanity. And then we added in dogs too. Oh, just crazy. But it's exactly that. But you learn more and learn how to manage more the more that you do, which is why we always say just jump in. Sure, have the plan.
Have a plan, have an idea, because the problem is you can plan as much as you want, but what if the plan takes a 90-degree turn?
Yeah.
And you weren't planning for that. Then what do? You panic, you freak out. No. Like, we've just learned, pivot.
You pivot, and you lean on your support system, which is what we've been talking about essentially. Everything through COVID, everything through the growth of our businesses is lean on our support system.
Definitely.
Each other and everybody else in our business.
Yeah.
The people that we look to for not just solutions, but for discussion, for open, it's like an open forum here. So build the community.
Definitely.
I think that's even more important than planning. You obviously need your plan. You need some groundwork, but you need the people around you to help you through it, because there's going to be lows. And then if you don't have the people through the lows, then who's with you through the highs?
Exactly.
Who celebrates that high with you? Somebody might be, like, let's say you start a business and your family, you're close with your family. Great. They'll support you through the lows, but they won't understand because they're not in the business. They will support you through the highs because they'll be excited that you're excited, but they don't understand.
That's very true.
So business support, business community. That's what we're here for.
We got you.
We got you. Empowerment and self-confidence and delusional support. Absolutely.
We got that too.
We've got enough delusion to go around. So let's grow. Join us, follow us, subscribe. Whatever the words are for podcasts that I don't know.
If you want to join this community, follow, subscribe, and you don't even have to do it on this platform you're listening to us on. You can follow us on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube. We are everywhere.
We're everywhere. And we'll tell you all about it, obviously. The highs, the lows, the times we didn't talk.
It's true. Thanks for listening to us, everybody.